Had no dignity. That's what I was missing. There was no dignity. It just looked like a man desperate for attention. And whenever DeSantis was scoring points on him, he would interrupt over and over to try to talk over the points as just a, that's like a middle school debate tactic, which is pathetic and not.
When Gavin Newsom tried to outsmart Megyn Kelly, what followed wasn't a debate, it was a demolition. California's self-proclaimed golden boy with the perfect hair gel walked straight into a rhetorical buzzsaw. Megyn didn't just show up prepared. She showed up with receipts, firepower, and enough razor-sharp sass to make a real housewife take notes. What unfolded wasn't a polite exchange, it was a Newsom napalm roast with the heat turned all the way up. By the end, Gavin probably wished he'd skipped the spotlight and stuck to his French Laundry reservations.
He's somewhat obsequious, to be honest with you. I mean, it's very strange because when you listen to him, you would think like he's a moderate, but he's not. On the trans stuff and virtually every other subject, he is as radical as they come. He is another.
Before we go any further, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe because trust me, you don't want to miss this one. Gavin Newsom steps into the spotlight like California's favorite failed influencer, flashing a grin as if he just saved a kitten from a tree. When in reality, he's the guy who lit the whole forest on fire. He feels less like a governor and more like a lab experiment designed to sell disappointment. Designer suit? Check. Perfect teeth? Check. Slicked back hair? Check. Actual leadership? Nowhere to be found. Give this man a GPS, a compass, and a Sherpa, and he'd still manage to march the state straight into a flaming dumpster overflowing with Whole Foods receipts and broken climate promises.
That's so fun. Gavin, a simple Google search about yourself will serve you well before you make these sweeping claims. But on the same dishonest, disingenuous front, he tried to act like he's the reasonable one on the trans and the children issue, Eliana, which is a lie. His state.
Megyn Kelly didn't just call him out, she vaporized him. And she didn't need to shout to do it. It was the quiet fury of someone who sat through one-to-many press conferences, watching Gavin grin through disaster like a ventriloquist's dummy programmed to chirp. We're making progress, while casually stepping over an entire tent city.
I don't think Gavin Newsom is the great white hope of the Democratic Party. I really don't. I don't see it happening. Am I wrong? I realize he's got the widow's peak. That's in his favor. He's got the gravelly voice. I don't think I thought Bashir could do it because he's a blue governor in a red state, Kentucky. But the more I listen to him, the more I'm like, he can't do it.
Let's talk about the California dream, Gavin's favorite bedtime story. Under his watch, that dream now comes stapled to an eviction notice with a side of fentanyl. Homelessness? Off the charts crime? Through the roof. Gas prices? So high you have to sell a kidney on Etsy just to top off your tank. And while all this burns, Gavin's busy jetting off to red states, bragging about how perfect things are back home. That's like your plumber flooding your house and then giving a TED Talk on dry floors.
To start this, and the reason he's smart to start it is because he has no muscles, Emily. None. He's a sinewy little weakling when it comes to arguing any of these issues, especially cultural issues, because he, like all liberals,
He governs like a failed motivational speaker loaded with buzzwords, empty on results. To him, everything is bold, historic, or transformational, which really just means it's collapsing in real time. Still, credit where it's due, the lighting is flawless. Gavin has perfected the art of disaster chic governance, where everything is broken, but at least it's broken in high definition.
Out and maybe as a people pleaser, a vintage politician, when he gets across from these are our war fighters. And truly, like the three I mentioned, these are war fighters in a way, rhetorical war. He feels the need to get their approval. That's how it feels. And he's getting excoriated by the left-wing press as a result. It's actually kind of amusing. We put together a budded soundbite. Take a listen here.
I thought that was one of the most inauthentic.
Public safety in California feels like a Kuzio or Nathan Trent book where every ending is a robbery. Crime is so casual it could launch its own merch line, while Gavin's too busy straightening his cufflinks to notice stores locking up toothpaste like it's a nuclear launch code. This isn't reform, it's an open audition for Grand Theft Auto, San Francisco Edition, and homelessness? His big idea is dumping billions into programs that somehow multiply tenths, leaving California with more tarp per capita than Amazon has cardboard boxes. Walk through LA and you'll trip over an encampment while a Gavin Newsom campaign flyer blows by, promising the same solutions he's already failed to deliver 3 fiscal years in a row. Housing, he loves to talk about affordability, but delivers nothing but sound bites. And education, don't even start. California's public schools have turned into crash courses in mediocrity, classrooms packed with outdated textbooks and exhausted teachers. But don't worry, Gavin's got the fix. Slap on a shiny new diversity initiative and call it progress. Because nothing screams student success like preparing kids to file for unemployment before they even graduate.
Is as radical as they come. Only Minnesota under Tim Walz is more radical, which to his credit, because Bill Maher is on the right side on this issue, meaning correct side, he did raise with Gavin Newsom, who then wiggled and wormed, and which was typical in the interview, did not accept.
When the pandemic hit, Gavin's hypocrisy reached Olympic-level gymnastics. Lockdowns were for everyone unless you were attending one of his exclusive indoor dinners with Napa Valley's elite. Small businesses were boarded up tighter than Fort Knox, yet somehow Gavin's social calendar stayed wide open. He delivered his pandemic briefings like a Netflix villain giving a final monologue before pressing the self-destruct button. His COVID strategy was like jazz, lots of improvisation, no structure, and absolutely no one knew what was going on. Parents begged for schools to reopen, businesses collapsed. And Gavin was busy storing in PSA videos, whispering emotionally into the camera about togetherness, while his wine cellar added to new shelves. But don't you dare question him, because Gavin handles criticism the same way your Wi-Fi handles Zoom calls. He freezes, buffers, and then blames someone else. Ask about homelessness, he blames mental health. Ask about mental health, he blames housing. Ask about housing, and suddenly he's waving charts about electric vehicles while hugging himself for saving the planet.
He's down on the populace with his emergency, what is it called? We still are under an emergency act of some type since the beginning. It's ridiculous. And he comes down on all of us, and then his kids, he closes the schools, caves to the unions, his kids stay in school. He goes out to restaurants in indoor environments with his peers, no masks. He does whatever the hell he wants. This hypocrisy is what's going to get him. That's the part that we in California.
He talks like every problem is someone else's responsibility, but every camera flash belongs to him. Gavin isn't a leader, he's a walking press release. If posture, pomade, and privilege counted as policy, he would have solved climate change, income inequality, and the opioid crisis before brunch. On climate, he acts like he personally invented the sun, posing in front of wind turbines and solar panels while California literally burns behind him. Rolling blackouts, dried up reservoirs, and wildfires straight out of Armageddon? For Planet Gavin, they're just photo ops filtered through Instagram Valencia. Meanwhile, he bans gas-powered lawnmowers and declares victory for the planet while wildfires consume entire zip codes. It's like watching a guy set his own kitchen on fire and then stroll next door to critique your landscaping. And while he's busy dunking on Florida, Californians are fleeing to Texas like it's the last chopper out of Saigon. The U-Haul shortage? Not a coincidence. It's a mass exodus from Gavintopia.
For Gavin Newsom in California. The California state legislature passed a bill just like this, and Gavin Newsom refused to sign it. That's how crazy this is. And you accurately point out, Steve, it wasn't so long ago, Colorado was reddish, purple. Now it's considered blue, but there's probably a healthy red strain in there that could be revived if they go.
His solution is always the same: more taxes, more red tape, more virtue signaling. Because in Gavin's world, if it sounds progressive, it must be working. Reality doesn't matter. It's all about the vibes. California may be crumbling, but he's got a ring light and a Twitter thread about equity ready to post. And the best part, he actually thinks he's going to be president. Of what exactly the Republic of Delusion? This is the same guy who turned one of the world's strongest economies into a parody of itself. California used to be the Golden State. Under Gavin, it's a cautionary tale served with artisanal kale. You can't even call it governing anymore. It's performance art, the cracks, the chaos, the carefully curated incompetence. He talks equity while his policies price communities out of their homes. He talks safety while criminals walk free and citizens install panic rooms in studio apartments. He talks progress while every metric screams decline. If irony were a power source, California could light up the nation on nothing but Gavin's speeches.
That's wrong. He's French laundry. He's too pretty. He's too needy of like the good opinion of.
He stands at the podium like a man unveiling the cure for cancer when in reality, all he's done is build a crisis buffet. Education is broken, housing is shattered, and infrastructure is held together with duct tape and nostalgia. Yet there he is, flashing those movie star teeth and promising that this time it'll be different. Megyn Kelly didn't need to yell, she just told the truth. Because Gavin's greatest weakness isn't even his policies, it's that he genuinely believes the mirror is clapping for him. Every time it's the same, smooth speeches, failed plans, and a glossy image glued together with wishful thinking and high-end moisturizer. At this point, Gavin Newsom isn't governing a state, he's hosting a live-action disaster documentary with luxury skincare commercials. And the people? They're done. They want off the ride. They want someone who doesn't treat real-world problems like campaign props. But Gavin is too busy rehearsing his 2028 inauguration pose in front of a mirror built from ego and blind ambition.
Watching him try and fail to be a human being is a very interesting thing. And that's what he's been kind of doing. You know, Gavin is a ambitious guy who thought he was gonna run.
And that's the punchline, he still thinks he's winning. Winning, that's laughable. Gavin Newsom wouldn't recognize a political victory if it waltzed into French laundry and served itself as a $500 entree. His idea of a win is staging a perfectly lit press conference, announcing some bold new initiative, and then ghosting the project faster than a Silicon Valley startup after burning through series of money. And of course, there's his tech obsession. Gavin treats buzzwords like they're actual policies. He talks about closing the digital divide, but kids in rural California are still writing essays on their phones because school Wi-Fi works about as well as his memory when someone mentions that French laundry dinner. He promises access for all while streaming those promises on platforms half the state doesn't even have the bandwidth to watch.
Newsom. The hell?
Oh, no,
the hell is. Who's a better actor? I'm not sure. They're both up for an award.
I was watching him on MSNBC. He's got a new hand motion. I was gonna text him. It's this. It's got like, you know, usually it's kind of this, and then he's doing this. He was doing this thing on MSNBC. He's doing this whole thing. Look, he is the fakest person I think I've ever met.
Then there's the small business graveyard, Gavin's proudest unspoken achievement. During COVID, closures turned into a masterclass in watching livelihoods implode while the governor live-streamed his empathy. Entrepreneurs spent decades building something, only to watch it vanish because Gavin's rulebook shifted more often than his haircut. One week it was stay home, the next it was support local, and by week 3 it was sorry. You're not essential, good luck. The irony? The only businesses left standing were the big box chains he once claimed he was protecting us from. Entire districts are sinking under his failures. Yet Gavin's takeaway is that people just don't appreciate the progress, right? Because broken sidewalks, shuttered schools, and rising crime must be misunderstood art installations. Speaking of crime, California has become a free-for-all where you can walk into Walgreens, grab $949 worth of goods, and stroll out like it's a dystopian Paris flea market. Meanwhile, Gavin seems more worried about whether the thieves feel emotionally safe while they're cleaning out the shampoo aisle.
That's very dangerous, like incredibly dangerous. Like he's the type of person that could just like stare like, oh yeah, I voted for Trump, and just like pass a lie detector test. that is very, very dangerous. You know, just stone cold, just like no inhibitions whatsoever when it comes to deceit or lying or misleading.
Law enforcement is demoralized. Citizens are terrified, and Gavin is busy posing on the cover of GQ like he solved systemic inequality with nothing but his jawline. He treats safety like a vibe, something you're supposed to feel, not something you actually have. And heaven forbid anyone mention public transportation, because Gavin is still hyping his high-speed rail like it's the moon landing powered by nothing but his limitless ability to overpromise and underdeliver. But the real kicker isn't just the mismanagement, it's the breathtaking confidence he has while everything collapses. America doesn't need that guy in Washington. Gavin actually thinks being a cautionary tale qualifies him as a national model. Nobody's asking for the recipe for disaster, especially when it's served with a side of avocado toast and a speech about reimagining possibilities.
Because my own feeling is this guy's in training for 2028 against JD. Probably, that's what we think, will likely be the standard bearer for the Republican Party, and he needs practice. We saw that when he debated Ron DeSantis on Hannity. He needs practice. He's not very good at it. And we should not be helping him. The more times he sits across from Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon and any of our sort of lead fighters, the better he will get, the better he'll do.
Even when his own party starts giving him side-eye, Gavin doesn't flinch. He just tightens his tie, announces another vague initiative, and books a photo shoot with better lighting. Accountability? That's for lesser mortals. Gavin never steps down, he just steps up to the next podium like he's auditioning for a shampoo commercial about political amnesia. His greatest skill is being everywhere except where the crisis is. Sacramento drowning in problems? He's on a podcast about existential leadership. Wildfires torching Northern California? He's touring Miami. Water crisis? Gavin's busy filming a TikTok about hydration with glacier water shipped in BPA-free bottles. He's not a governor. He's the influencer of American politics sponsored by disaster, partnered with delusion. Gavin doesn't solve problems. He photobombs them. Every photo op, every speech, every Instagram post is part of the grand Gavin illusion. If it looks good, it must be working. And if it isn't, just smile, spin, and schedule another Zoom call with donors who still think he's next.
Newsom, he's out there trying to rewrite his COVID history. Truly one of the worst in the nation, possibly the worst on the lockdowns about which you were very public. And he's doing two things, saying we did way better than we did poorly. We had way more successes than we had mistakes. And by the way, anything you don't like was the result of local government.
Meanwhile, Californians are stuck dodging rolling blackouts, insane prices, and policy whiplash while Gavin casually suggests they try meditation. Those who can't afford to flee are left front row at the Newsom circus, paying premium ticket prices just to fill their gas tank and get home before dark. Megyn Kelly didn't even have to swing hard, his entire career is already a roast waiting to happen. The record speaks louder than his speeches, but the only ones not hearing it are blinded by the dazzling smile and aggressively confident hair. Yet somehow he still floats around like he's Obama's sequel, when in reality, he's the straight-to-streaming spin-off nobody asked for. Gavin Newsom is the living embodiment of what happens when style kidnaps substance, shoots it in the foot, and runs for higher office with a kale smoothie in one hand and a script of buzzwords in the other. And that's what makes roasting him so easy. This is Nick Spotlight, like, subscribe, and stay tuned.